Thanks everybody for joining me. I'm your host, Ryan Kirk. Tonight is another series in our FlipLogic real estate show where our format here is a 1 hour Q&A or until all questions are exhausted. And we'll do live screen share to go over any deals and do all of that as well using all the tools that we have at our disposal. So I'm going to give everybody a minute to kind of pile in here. And while I'm doing that, if you have any questions, we're going to use the chat box. So use the chat box, and depending on the size of the group this evening, you know, if anybody has something that they really want to dive into, we'll cut to audio, and so that way we can go deeper. So hold on here 1 second. All right, with that being said, I do want to check the panel here and see if I've got my co-host for the evening. My co-host, James. I'm going to unmute you, James. James, can you hear us? How about that?
Hey, Ryan.
Okay, there we go. All right, we've got James on the call as well. And with that being said, let me open up the chat box as well. So I got that rolling. Okay. All right, Damon, you're here as well. Glad to see you here as well. And actually, what I'd like to open up with is, James, I'd actually like to open up with, you know what? Actually, I'd like to open up with, yeah, James. I'd like to open up with you.
Okay.
You know, fill us in. What were you working on here today? I'd like to have you start off and share with what you've got going on. I know you just got a deal all firmed and locked up and sold today.
Yeah. Okay. So today been working on 3 or 4 different contracts, 3 of which we have been going back and forth with buyers, and we'll stick to this one where we have a signed assignment from a buyer and the signed contract locked in from the seller, and he's set up the wire for tonight to show up tomorrow. It'll be a hard EMD of $15,000 to close by this Friday, and we'll probably get disbursement Monday, so everyone gets paid out Monday. And I believe you can bring up the screen share on that one, Ryan. It's Taunt Poway.
Okay, so I'm going to pull up a screen share here. So I've got, I'm going to go to my screen share. Okay, so that's the Taunt property here. So this is a property in Poway. So here's kind of the stats on it. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet and some change on a 10,000 square foot lot. And if I go to the comps tab and I scroll down, we've got a number of comps here. We've got 2 in green. Those are the 2 that are selected. If I just click on that column, that'll pull those up to the top. So one's a 5.2, 1,700 square feet, smaller lot, sold in June for $655, and the other comp here is a 3, 1.5, smaller, 1,500 square feet, 8,800 square foot lot, also smaller, sold for $630, and that sold in June as well. So both sold at $380. This one sold at $380 a foot. This one sold at $400 a foot. And so we ended up putting an ARV of about 690. And here's kind of like what the subject property looks like from a street view. So James, kind of fill us in on what was going on with the numbers here. So we came up with 690. That's probably pretty good. These are both smaller, 655, 630. But you know, that's 655, that's 630. 1700 is pretty darn close. So if that's 655 and the lot is a little smaller, why are we at an ARV of 690?
Okay,
if I go to the analysis, that's 390 a foot.
The reason we're at 690 is we also have a pool. The other properties do not have a pool.
Gotcha.
So that's a $30,000 increase in our favor. You know, if those two had pools, then, you know, they would get $30,000 to $35,000 more. Why 30 to 35,000? Because that's what it costs to put a pool in. So that's why we get that bump.
That's right. That is about the cost, roughly, you know, about, you know, 35,000, 30 to 40,000 to put in a pool. And any good appraiser worth his salt, if he were to do an appraisal and appraise, use these two comps, which are in the neighborhood, right? They're less than, you know, they're in the same subdivision here. He's going to take those two comps and then he'll give a value, a positive value adjustment for those to set off against, you know, not having a pool versus having a pool. So that would be about, you know, 30 to 40,000. If it was 30,000, that would put this at from 655 up to like 685. And then maybe any adjustments for the lack of square footage. So same with this. So what's nice is those did sell for about what was it? I said 400 and 380 a foot. You put it at 390 a foot, which came out to 690. So that's all pretty well supported. That's pretty good. And then you put the repair costs here at $30 a foot, which came out to $52,920. So what was your thinking on $30 a foot?
Well, it looks like you're opening up the pictures right now. And you flip through the pictures and you'll see the outside looks decent. The roof looks pretty decent. And, you know, we'll talk about why it's pending on the market here in just a moment. You know, it looks pretty decent throughout the inside, right? You know, why isn't it market value or, you know, market condition, retail condition? And you can see the kitchen right there. That's one of the reasons why. And then you see the bathroom there too.
Right.
Yeah, there's no.
Yeah, that kitchen is definitely dated.
Right.
And same with the bathroom. Yeah,
bathroom's dated
for sure.
Yeah, but the paint.
The bedrooms are good. I mean, the people like carpets in their bedrooms. We've got good trim. I actually like the color, so that's all well and fine.
Yeah,
but yeah, you're right. We've got two bathrooms and a kitchen that needs updating, and this backyard looks good too. Not much landscape.
No, yeah, not much needs to be done. You know, maybe adding some tables, an umbrella. You know, it's pretty much all well and good. You know, it looks nice and green and well taken care of. You know, the outside looks good. You know, the aerial view, you can see part of the roof there. It looks pretty good. Maybe some slight changes there on that railing. Maybe take that out, or, you know, maybe level some stuff off. Whatever the buyer.
Yeah.
He's gonna
create better curb appeal in the front. Sure.
Right. Probably change the paint.
And I'm sure, yeah, they'll neutralize these main rooms.
Right. And the reason why we're at $30 a foot and not like 25 a foot, because normally this would be about 25 a foot, you know, which would be, you know, a couple thousand less. But that kitchen goes into the pool area, and that there's some walls you can see sitting right there in front of the kitchen that kind of make it, I don't know, a little funky as far as the layout goes. You'll see
Mm-hmm.
there next to the fireplace, those little walls right there, they're kind
Yeah.
of unnecessary. They kind of just get in the way and they look a little weird. So you may need to
Mm-hmm.
out to make it feel like it's a little bit more open and not so, such a weird flow on the house.
Gotcha. So yeah, and I can get behind all of that too. It may even be less than $30 a foot. I mean, just to give you an idea, on average, if it needs a full remodel, I'm talking new roof, new flooring, new kitchen, new baths, right? Paint, some landscape, the whole nine. You're going to be at about $35 a foot, right? So you're at $30 a foot, which is definitely, I think, generous. I think even probably 25 a foot would get it there. But we're at 30 a foot, and 4 months on, we ended up selling this at $515, which was, just over 10%. We typically, and on this one we marketed the property at $520. And we ended up at $515. So just to give you an idea. So we ended up at $515, and that was something that was acceptable because we ended up putting the property under contract, not at the initial cash offer price, right? We put it under contract right around our max, right? We actually got it just under the max.
Yeah. And we actually went back and forth with the agent for quite a while because she was adamant about having a certain set price.
Quite a while being like what? Like a month?
No, about a week. About a week.
A week, okay.
Or a weekend. I believe it was like Thursday when we started.
Yeah, week to weekend. Yeah. Okay, good. So then we ended up putting it under contract at $490, and we were trying to get more than $520 actually, because we were actually using what were we using? We were using some of these other comps. Yeah. But we had come to find that and that's the funny thing about comps. That's why comps can be so important, because if you look at these comps, I mean, look how close these comps are, and I'll pull down just so we can kind of get a better idea. If I go by distance, obviously we use the two closest comps. Within a mile works, right? Mile is good. Same subdivision is better. On the same street is best, right? We ended up, this is definitely good. I mean, this is as good as it gets as far as proximity, right? And then we were using these other comps, which all were within a mile, right? This one's within a mile, and these are within a mile. But sometimes a funny thing can happen. Neighborhoods can change quite a bit, even within a mile, and you just have to kind of keep an eye out for that. And that was the feedback we got from investors, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was that these neighborhoods weren't as comparable as this neighborhood, right? These were superior neighborhoods, and this was a less superior neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right, or less desirable.
Yeah, even though pools can make a $35,000 to $40,000 difference, sometimes it can make more of a difference. Sometimes it's $35,000 to $40,000. Sometimes it can make $100,000 difference. But it really just depends the neighborhood. And something I've never forgotten is something is only worth as much as someone is willing to pay. That'll dictate price. And so, the buyer will very much dictate price to us. If we're overshooting, we have to at least meet his mark, and then try and work under that. And that's kind of what we did, and readjusted everything. And that's how we got where we're at as far as the ARV and getting the contract at where we got it at, and got everything lined up to close this Friday.
Got it. So we put it out at 5. We ended up getting a buyer at 5:15. We renegotiated, right? We got the price down to 490 because we were using comps that investors didn't agree with, right? So we just took the feedback that we got from our investors, right? Which is, hey, yes, these are good comps. These are in the 7s. They're within a mile, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, seller's agent, right? But we can't use them because the desirability of that neighborhood is different than this one. Those are in the 7s. This is in the 6s. That's a fact, right? And because of that, we can't be, and I think, in the 5s, right? In the low 5s, we need to be, in the high 4s, right? We got to be at 490. And that's what kind of created the back and forth, right? We had to get that price adjustment. We got the price adjustment, and we just worked backwards from what our investor was willing to do, right? Our investor was willing to do 515, and he was willing to go a non-contingent, wire a non-refundable deposit, right? And close in like 3 days, 4 days.
Yeah.
So based off that, and you can kind of see how the marketing setup looked here. Makes it very easy for an investor when they get a marketing email, to make a quick decision and not have to do a bunch of brain damage. Because it can be a good deal, but if it's not presented correctly, I don't know about you guys, but I think we all do. Investors, James, everybody on this call, but everybody gets bombarded with emails, right? So it's very important to, put the best foot forward and present the deal like we do, so it gets the attention that it deserves. And then, investors see how serious that we are, or you are, if you're, one of our, members who sent out the marketing email to your own investors or posted it online or in a Facebook real estate buyers group or on Craigslist or whatever you did. What you can do here by doing a marketing post, you can actually generate a post just like you can a marketing email blast. And you can post this as a post with a link. And I'll just show you real quickly, and then we'll cut back to our group. But you can actually put a title to it, make it active, create a link, or publish it, create a link, and then you can post that link in the Facebook groups, Craigslist, also, places online to, help connect with buyers and get them interested in going to look at the deal so they can give you a price and a date when they can close. So then you can send over the paperwork for them to sign, and they can wire and, go on your merry way. So I hope that helps. With that being said, let's cut to the group here and see if anybody has any questions. And let's see. So Damon asks, appraisers use comps also? Yes, Damon. Appraisers definitely use comps. I mean, appraisers use comparable sales to generate their appraisal. They'll typically use somewhere around 5, several comps, 3 or more. They'll definitely try to use as many as they can, 5. And then they'll maybe go out of the neighborhood like what we had within a mile, because it's within a mile, it fits that criteria, but they will then make adjustments. If you've ever looked at an appraisal, they'll do plus adjustments and minus adjustments, and they'll put a dollar figure to that. They'll do that based off lot size. They'll do that based off of living square footage. They'll do that based on the age of the house compared to the subject compared to the comp, age. They'll come up with a dollar figure to adjust for that. And then, of course, a pool and any other amenities, beds, baths, that sort of thing. So they really get into some complexities there, but they'll basically generate a dollar figure. So we try to keep it simple. You want to support your deal with, you at least want at least 2 comps, like what we did here, 3 or more is better, but and we did use several in this case, but all of our investor feedback was, hey, the 2 in the same subdivision is really what you got to go off of, because once you get outside that neighborhood, the neighborhood changes. So sometimes it does within a mile. I'm sure we've all experienced that one way or another. Let's see here. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say, even in Los Angeles, like block by block, it can change. One block will look really nice, and then you go down 1 or 2 blocks and it's completely different. And, that can mean a couple $100,000 difference. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, hey, I want to see, does anybody else have any other questions? I know Damon, you were, let's look at Damon's lead. Damon just submitted a lead, right? Maybe about, I don't know, an hour ago. And I'd like to bring that up and discuss that. I wanted to just cut here and see if we had any chat going on in the YouTube world. But Damon, if you don't mind, can we pull up your lead and look at that? Let's see here. It's actually, I think it's a Springfield Street. It says ready to review. Let me make sure we've got Damon's permission first. Yes. Okay. He doesn't mind. Good. All right. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Damon on the line as well. Damon, let's see if Damon, if you're in a place that you can talk, great. If not, I understand. That's okay. But I'm just going to put you on unmute, and if you want to unmute it from your side, go for it. I'd love to get some live feedback from you as we go here. So for all of those of you in TV land, so this is a 3-2 1290 square feet on a 10,000 square foot lot. This is in San Diego. Damon found this property and submitted it today, and he could give us some feedback as to what he could tell us about it. Here are some comps that Damon has. This is the first time I looked at it. I noticed he hasn't selected these. You need to select the comps so the system can start generating, an ARV and supporting that based off the comp selection. So I'm going to select that one. The system put that one in green because it's pretty close. Here's our subject, 3-2 1290 1089. This one's like pretty much right on the money. It sold for $498 in May. And then this one's pretty close. It sold for $453. It's larger. I wonder if this was a fixer at all. Actually, if I hit this link, it'll pull up a Zillow link, which is nice to have on hand because there may be some photos there that we can use to get an idea of the condition that this comp was in when it sold, such as if there's no photos, there might be a description. No, that's just a default description. The other thing you could do is take this, copy, and then paste, and then see if you can pull it up in a Redfin. We're going to close out. That was our last one we were talking about. If I pull this up here, this might have some photos that we can use. Yes, and this one does. So this will tell us, was this all original, or did it need some work? This looks like it's in this obviously wood floors, white walls, updated kitchen, not my favorite, but some stainless, low grade stainless steel appliances, and some light covered cabinets and a dark granite countertop or quartz there. Bathroom. Yeah, I mean, it's not completely outdated. Upgraded shower, a view with a deck, downslope backyard. Okay, so that kind of gives you an idea. It's definitely not all original. And then the other thing to really help give you an idea is what's the price history on it. Price history was listed in January, went pending in 2 weeks, and then sold. So obviously, your days on market there, or this was earlier in the year, but this was only on market for like, less than 30 days. Okay, so that gives us an idea on that comp. And then this is the other comp. This sold at $339 a foot. This sold at $415 a foot. So let's take a look at this one real quick. And then I would imagine this one was rehabbed that sold on Win It. So I would imagine our ARV, now that I have two comps selected, if I hit the reset there, it's saying 486. I'm going to call it, what do you think, James? 500,000?
Yeah. The green comp at 498.
This one's our subject's a little larger. We got to check and see what's going on with the pool and backyards and stuff. Obviously, this one had a little bit of a view.
If it's
these are both in the same neighborhood, all three of them. So that's good. So we'll look at the comp, this other comp, and then we'll dig into the subject a little bit better.
Sounds good.
This driveway, not a lot of people are going to like that. It's not like a steep downslope. It's not like hard to get into. So that's not a terrible detractor. It's when driveways are very difficult, like it's a scary steep slope. People have a hard time, getting in and out of the driveway. Obviously, that's a negative point. And there's not a lot of photos here, but from what we can see, it looks like this property was rehabbed and they put up a new fence.
Yeah.
Man, look at this staircase you got to march up to get to your front door. So those are some of the things that were going on with this. Let's just real quick. What do you think? Price history. It's not a flip, right? This 2002. There's no price. It was just sold off market. It looks like.
Yeah. Can you check Redfin for more pictures?
Yeah, we'll check Redfin for more photos. Just paste that in. Okay, Redfin for more photos. No photos for Redfin. So it just sold. It looks like they sold it off market as they were working on it. Maybe they had a neighbor or family member come in, just want to make a straight offer without them even having to go to market with it. All right, real quick, I'm just going to change to satellite view so we got a better idea of what's going on here. Damon, if you don't have any audio that you can go to, and I'm going to look back at Damon here again, maybe you can tell us if there's, well, I can see just from the satellite, I can tell you right now, there's definitely no pool. There's definitely no view. Okay. Looks like a straight rectangular box there. The other thing we can do is I can just click on the marker here and we can get a quick street view as well. So here's our street view. That's facing the opposite way, I think. No? Is this the back side of the property? Let me go this way. Oh, maybe it's a downslope. Is that what's going on? Where is the, is this the driveway for it right there?
That's the mailbox.
Fence. Yeah, there's the mailbox. I guess it's all fenced in. And then this is obviously the driveway here.
Huh.
Well, it's definitely a fixer, and that needs some work. So let's cut to.
Is there a bird's eye view? Sometimes on Zillow they have bird's eye views, and they can show a little bit closer of the property.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. All right.
That is our bird's eye. But yeah, you can see this is like I think it's a downslope.
Yeah. Looks like it.
I don't know. I think I'm going to call it 475. What do you think?
Whew. I think 450. Yeah, I think it'd be 450. Because we can't, like, the lot is very big, decent size. I would have almost said tear it down and put something else, or see what the tear down possibilities are. But with the downslope, it's not a good idea to even try to do that.
I think it's still a rehab play. I don't think that this is a tear down play in this neighborhood. But I want to look at. I'd like to see if we can get a better idea of a street view from. Well, we know this one was appealing from the street. I mean, I'm sure that there's some. I mean, there's curb appeal factor that we can do here. I want to cut back and see if Damon's got anything else that he can add here. Damon, are you on the line? Can we bring you in for some audio? Let me see. I want to.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go. All right, Damon. Great. Thanks for being on. Let's take a look at. What else can you tell us about this? Because is this property listed? Did we pull this up on?
It is listed.
Yeah, I don't think.
It should be listed as a short sale.
Got it. Okay. So it's listed as a short sale. They've got an asking of $350. They just did a price cut 5 days ago by $40,000. Have you talked to the agent? Anything else that we know about what's going on inside or what it looks like? Because it looks like they've got some solar panels. I don't know how old this roof is. It doesn't shout that it needs to be changed. And it looks like they just put in some new windows not too long ago and doors and everything. You can actually see where they still didn't actually finish the job there.
Yes, the agent let me know today that it was a total rehab. That was he used, I think he used the word remodel, a total remodel.
It needs to be totally remodeled?
Yes.
Got it. Needs to be totally remodeled. So this is good. It came on back in September, and it's been in and out. Did he have any other insights that he could share with you about, like, how much? So it needs to be fully remodeled, so we know that. So let's just work with what we do know. So we know it needs to be totally remodeled. So I'm going to put in a figure. You put in $40 a foot, it looks like.
Yes, I did.
That's good because you've got a huge lot. You're going to need some landscape, you know, especially the front of it as well. It's going to need some curb appeal. So I'm going to leave that at $40 a foot. Did he give you any insights as to how much he thought it was going to take to rehab? And if so, what did he think the after repair value would be once it's finished?
Not yet. Hopefully I'm gonna meet with them this week and look at the property. I'm gonna go look at it.
Okay.
I'll have a better idea.
Okay. And so he didn't know about what it would be worth once the rehab's done on it, or he didn't give any.
We didn't even discuss
on
that part. He just called me and let me know. Just gave me more information.
Okay. What do you think, James? $499. I mean, it's $499 or maybe $480.
It's tough.
I'd like to see. Let's look at what about this property here too. This other one that we're pulling up, it's also a 3.2, 1,300 square feet, same size lot. These are all the same size. It sold for $420 in July. And I wonder if that's, and let's see here. So it looks like somebody came and what is going on with
Go to Redfin.
Yeah, I think I'll go to Redfin, see if there's any other photos. This was set at 435 and drop down to 400. So if we pull this up and put it on Redfin. And again, we're doing this we'd like to see if we can find any photos, any additional photos on this comp. And Redfin just has, I think, a better MLS feed or something. Obviously, the backyard, they've got a view, but there's no landscape done in the back. It looks like just a artificial grass in the front, and you can tell they didn't paint, they didn't change out the door. It does have new vinyl windows. So let's see what else is going on in here. They've got some wood flooring. Obviously this is not a remodel. It's just, you know, old cabinets, old appliances, white appliances, oak cabinets. But yeah, it's all old stuff in here. So this one sold at 400, and that deck, man, that deck needs help. Okay. All right. So that's definitely a fixer comp. So I think these are our ARV comps. And this second one, this is the one with the long driveway leading up, right?
Yeah.
And this is the other one. It sold for $450. And I'm actually just want to look and see if I'm going to expand this too. See if there's any other comps that maybe were missed that we can see. From here as well. I'm just going to pull down. $435. I guess there's some new construction in the neighborhood.
Looks new.
1600. It's a condo. Looks like a little condominium project.
Yeah, can't use it then.
Let me scroll down here and see. $480, $420. I mean, I think our ARV. I'd like to get another comp or two to put in there. This is 460. That's much larger, 1,800 square feet. I think what I'm going to do, instead of kind of going back and forth with this, I'm actually going to close this and just look at it from here. So this one's 450. That's a 3 to 1,100 square feet. It's got older. It's kind of one of those mixed. You know, they've upgraded some things, but haven't upgraded everything. This one's 515. Wow, look how close this is to Radio Drive, James. This is one street over from Radio.
Yeah, Radio Drive is our other property that that we're in negotiations with. We actually are got an assignment agreement signed by a buyer that wants it, and we've been going back and forth today as well.
Second comment.
With an agent on it, getting everything locked up, and we should be getting a contract back tonight or tomorrow, so we can have wire set up and done, so we can close it out on the 21st this month.
So, but yeah, with that being said, we know the neighborhood a little bit. Let's see, I don't think we found any other comps. Sometimes our system, you have to hit and fetch it more than once.
If you want, you can put this one in there, Ryan.
You have another comp? Yeah.
6355 EIDER Street.
Okay. Hold on. Once this gives me the chance to do it.
Yeah.
Because ideally, some of these neighborhoods, like this reminds me of like the La Quinta Cove. There's just some neighborhoods where you've got a hodgepodge of houses on, that street or in that neighborhood, where you've got nice homes and you've got stuff that's really run down. So this is just one of those neighborhoods where it's a hodgepodge. So you really have to make sure you find a couple of, you're really certain about your comps, especially when, you've got views and different types of views involved. It puts a little more needed homework into it.
I got another one.
Okay, maybe what I'll do is let me just refresh this, and I'll just manually input the one that you got there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to go down here, add a property. What's the address?
1267 Weaver Weaver.
Uh-huh.
And then I got another one for you too.
It's just Weaver and then San Diego.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be our main comp to use.
So that's a good comp. All right. So I'm going to check the box. So this comp is selected. This sold for $380 a foot, which is good to know. All right. Did you say you have one more comp?
Yeah, but comparing the square footages, it's not anywhere near the same, but you can throw it in there regardless. 6355 IDER Street.
IDER.
Yeah.
EIDER.
Yes.
There we go.
Again,
all right. I definitely like how close it is.
Mhm.
So I've selected that one as well. Wow, that one's much smaller.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's smaller, but
All
it's
right.
got a view in a pool. That's probably why it's kept up to the
A view in a pool.
yeah, that's why it's kept up to the 435 mark. It's good for reference, I guess, but pull up Weaver Street, and you can take a look at the pictures, and you can see, and I'll tell you why I think that's the main comp, and then you can tell
Okay.
me if you agree with me or not.
All right. Before I do that, I just wanted to just scroll over a few others here. This is a 3-2-1100. Oh, this IDER. Yeah. I mean, it's a big box. It's a similar style to our subject.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the one we just put in there. So that was a good one to use. This is a 3-2-1100. I may want to put that one in there as some of these other ones in there. What's this one? Is this up on a hill with a view? I'm just gonna add this one in there as well. So are we thinking the ARV on this is closer to 475?
No. If you click on that Weaver Street property, you'll see why I think it's 440 to 450.
440 to 450. All right, I'm
Yeah.
clicking on it now, and I'm just gonna adjust this to 450. Let's call it 449.
All right.
And this is really good that this is a great example that we're doing here, because the worst thing that you can do to yourself, your investors, everybody involved, is to overinflate your ARV and try to fool everybody, because you're going to buy it wrong, right? When you make your offer to the buyer, you're going to put it under contract too high. You're going to have to go back and get a price adjustment. That's not the end of the world. You can do that. But if you blast the ARV where it's too high to all of your investors, and it's just blatantly too high, they're going to think you're an idiot, and they're never going to want to look at your deals, right? They're just going to go, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, or girl. So yeah, this is a great exercise, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's not intentional, but that's the biggest pet peeve I hear from investors, is that, I get a deal from somebody and the ARV is just not even close, and so obviously they don't want to spend any time on it, because the numbers are so far off. So this is the Weaver comp James was talking about that we're looking at. Actually, you'll notice this is the very same setup as Damon's subject property, right? It's got an elevated entry on the lot. You got to walk down to the lot, and I don't even know if this one has a driveway. It's got a big deck. It's got views. I would imagine it's the same thing with our subject.
Yeah.
They've done the remodel inside. Looks nice. And it's a huge lot and yard. And it's just, white kitchen cabinets, some stainless steel appliances, backsplash, kind of a bluish gray with a white trim, carpeted bedrooms, wood flooring in the common areas, tiled showers. Okay. Stackable washer dryer. All right, what's the price history like on this? So it is smaller, 3.2, 1150, sold in August, 440, and the price history is 435, went pending in about 9 days, and then sold.
But
440. Smaller, so we're definitely larger than 1150 square feet, but this kind of gives you an idea that 1150 square feet, they even got 383 a foot. So maybe we should throw out what do you think? Maybe throw out some of these others that
yeah,
aren't, because again, it's just going to throw everything off. And I think this Weaver, I just want to, this is a big lot. There's something screwed up there. I just want to see, in fact, it's 62. The lot seems much bigger than that. But. All right. So Eider, Weaver, and then we're going to keep these two right up here.
Yeah.
And that's going to, if I wanted to come up with an average for all of that, I can just hit the reset here. Puts it at 528, but we all know that's going to be too high. I think we're going to be more than 440, James, 450.
About 450 sounds about right. I don't think the subject property has any decks or anything in the back. So something's going to have to be possibly put in. There could be a deck back there, but we don't have any pictures. You can zoom in satellite and check. It doesn't look like there's much back there. Maybe something.
No.
When I go see it, I can let y'all know.
Yeah, that works. But
okay.
The reason why
all right, well, let's call it. All right. Well, I agree. Let's call it 450 because let's call it 450, and let's leave it at the $40 a foot, right? 3-month hold time. It's good to leave like to leave some financing costs in there. 80% for the purchase and repair cost, 10% rate. That's usually what it defaults to. Okay. Defaults to a 10% ROI. So it's saying the suggested max rehab price would be $325, which would leave a $40,000 net profit for the rehabber. After expenses, if you really kind of wanted to see how that breaks down, you could always generate a profit analysis. It'll pop up. I'll hit yes because this will add it to my the document folder. So when we do an email blast, or you do an email blast or a post, it'll have this pro forma attached to it. So when I pull this up, so we know what's really in that 40,000 net for a rehabber. Just so you know, this is it right here. Is 450 ARV. They spend 51,000. If they buy it for 325 and hold it for 3 months, their total purchase and repair costs, obviously with the purchase price plus rehab, it's going to be 377, 299. If they got an 80% loan for the purchase and repair costs, that means they're going to borrow about 300. At 10%, they're going to have about $7,500 in interest. I believe that's total, because the monthly interest payment is $2,500 on that. So that would mean that after they hold it, their holding costs every month, they've got their property tax, insurance, utilities roughly. So they've got about $800 a month in holding costs. When they go to buy it, they're going to have, escrow, title, and some closing costs, right? Traditionally, when you buy property, buyers only pay 50% of the escrow fee and seller picks up the rest. So typically, this is what the escrow cost would be for a buyer. Why do we pad in an extra $2,500? We do that because a lot of times it's nice when you go to buy a property, when you pitch the seller and you tell the seller, hey, we're going to buy all cash and pay all closing costs. That's what that 2,500 pad is. That will typically cover all the closing costs on a median size, median purchase price. You start getting, above $1 million, it goes above that. So those are the buying transaction costs here, obviously, that I just covered. And then the selling transaction costs, obviously there's some variables in here. Selling, when the rehabber, or if you were to rehab the deal, you put it on the market, you go to sell it, you're obviously going to pay some escrow fees. You're going to pay title. You're going to have recording costs, recording fees. It could be more than this. It really just depends. You could put a percentage in there, and you can actually change that here in your system settings for your default values. I'm not going to do that right now, but if you ever wanted to dial that in more, you could. But again, this will be pretty close. And this is obviously the big fee when somebody goes to resell is their realtor costs, right? Some investors, they've got in-house agents, and they're not going to have any selling costs as far as listing, I should say. No listing costs, listing commissions. Every seller, when they go to put it on the MLS, they're going to have to set aside a buying commission, right, for a buyer's agent, right? Typically, 5% is the total commissions when a property goes on the MLS retail, right? So typically half of that goes to a buyer's agent. That's 2.5. So why do we have 3.5 in here? Well, because oftentimes a lot of investors, a lot of rehabbers, when they put it on the MLS, they do hire an agent, whether maybe it's an in-house agent because they're licensed internally, or they sub it out to maybe a realtor who brought them the deal, or to a realtor that they work with quite often. Obviously, they got to pay them. How much does a rehabber typically pay a realtor that they feed a lot of listings to? They'll typically pay them 1% of a 1% commission. So that's why it's 3.5 in there. So that's pretty fair. Again, some transfer fees. Maybe they'll pick up the home warranty costs. And we don't have any staging or marketing costs in there. Typically, there's not a lot of marketing costs. They may end up doing some staging. And if they do some staging, that could cost them anywhere from, could cost them $3,000 to, $3,000 to $10,000, maybe $7,000. $3,000 is typically a good number. Why do we leave that blank? Because, it's just, that's a variable cost. Some people do it, some don't. But it is pretty important to have that there. It can be, staging's important, but we just leave that out. And obviously, it can be made up here a little bit on this side. If we typically don't write right, James. Typically, most offers we write now, we don't write where buyers paying all closing costs. We typically go the traditional route, right? We'll pay half the escrow fee, seller pays the rest of closing costs. So those numbers get thrown around in there. So that's how it kind of breaks down. And then, of course, if it is truly a cash buyer, if they truly buy cash, are going to pay cash, then they're going to end up saving $7,500 there. So you can see how the numbers kind of, move around the spreadsheet there, or that they can, because everybody buys and sells a little differently, don't they? But this just gives us a general target, a pretty good target. So we would want to sell it for $325, right? That would be our asking price. Does that make sense to everybody? James, Damon, does that number look? That number looks fair.
We want to buy it at $325.
That's what, if you were going to rehab it.
Oh, okay.
That's what you'd want to buy it at.
Okay.
That would be the max rehab price.
Okay.
If you wanted to wholesale it, then you're going to want to have a margin beneath that, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
So these are just suggested. You could start at 285. It says the max is 313, or call it 315. So if you offered 315, that would leave you a $10,000 margin, right? Between 315 and 325. And they've got it listed for what?
314.
What are they at? This is that right? Springfield. They just did 350.
350. Okay.
So they obviously started high and they're coming down, and that's 80 days on market. So I would suggest coming in at, if the most you can pay is 315, guess what you do not want to offer? You do not want to offer 315. You want to give yourself some room to come up, don't you? So I would suggest coming in the high twos, because that gives you room to come up to the low threes, doesn't it? But if you can, it's nice to have at minimum $10,000 margin, but I would typically shoot for like $20,000 margins, right? So if you wanted a $20,000 margin, then what you need to, if you're going to sell it at 325, you need to be at 305 for your max, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would make a note that you want it at 305, but come in at 285, and then that gives you $20,000 to come up.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yes.
So that's what you want to do.
Now,
cool. So, yeah.
Does that does the rehab costs in there cover for possibly putting a deck in to match the comp?
For $40 a foot, I don't know what that deck is going to run. The deck depends how elaborate of a deck you're going to do.
Okay.
$33 a foot's 42,000, $40 a foot. So it gives you like 10,000 for a deck.
Okay. Decks run between 10 and 15, right?
Yeah, it could. It really depends on the deck. If you're sinking piers and it depends on the elevation of where the house sits and the lot. If it's flat and it's going to be an easy deck to do, then yeah, it could be much cheaper. But with that being said, James, you do bring up a good point. I would, I don't know. I think I'd start at 275, Damon. And then maybe try. Yeah, I'd start at 275.
Mm-hmm.
because this is a short sale too, it might not be as it's not as easy of a negotiation as when, unless they're motivated, the lender's motivated.
Mhm.
But I'd say start at 275,
Mhm.
and then I'm just going to pad this to $50 a foot. Because that kind of gives us a better idea. See, we want to start at 275. I think the max we really want to come up to is about 295. We want to sell at 315, which gives us the $20,000 margin from 295 to 315.
All right.
Makes sense. So come up to 275, or start at 275. Give yourself room to come up to 295.
Okay.
And then we want to sell it around 315 to 325. Makes sense. Let's see. Does anybody else have any questions out there in TV land? Not that I see. I think we're moving right along pretty well. What's our time? We're over an hour. We got this. We dug deep. I mean, this was one of definitely a more not a cookie cutter type property. So that's why it took longer to dig into it. Does that make sense? Any other questions on that? Damon?
I don't at this time.
Okay. So then you know that you can go back to the agent, right? Offer 275, 1% earnest money deposit. You could do a 7-day, inspection period with a 14-day closing period. And this is where I was saying the traditional way is buyer and seller pay, escrow fee 50/50. Oops. Right. And then seller pays title and transfer fees. Makes sense. So if they've got that, and then they've got your vesting, which is if you're going to deal partner with us, and you want us on the contract, and you would put that would be the entity for buyer 1, and then buyer 2 would be your entity. And then you've got price, EMD, inspection period, closing period, and then who's paying the closing costs. That's really all the agent needs to write up the offer. And then they're probably going to, choose their own closing services. So seller chooses closing services, which is title and escrow.
Okay.
There you go. The note is on your lead there. All right, guys. With that being said, I'll ask the group in closing. Does anybody have any questions before we close out here? We're definitely over time. Kenneth says, can you send me login info again? Yes, we can send you a password reset on your login, Kenny. Anybody else have any questions? Looks like that's it. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again here Monday night at 6:30. We may be doing some shows, some pop-up shows during the day, during the morning hours. So keep an eye out on your email or subscribe to my YouTube channel so you'll get those live notifications. All right, this is us signing off. Thanks, everyone.